Hello, good evening. This is the caller, and you are watching the Cheese Room podcast live from the Man Cave this evening. The shirts lit up in all their glory. And tonight we'll be looking back at the draw in the Champions League at Frankfurt and previewing tomorrow night's game at Brighton. Joining me tonight, I've got HG all the way from Austria. Das ist gut, ja?
Yeah.
Gut
Das
gemacht.
ist sehr gut. We're going to do this in German. All right. Yeah, Austria's good. I'm good. I was much less excited about the draw against Frankfurt than I was when we actually drew Frankfurt. That got me really excited. But yeah, it's been a decent week.
Okay. And also becoming very much a regular on the show, Jack. How are you, sir?
Keeping well. Nice intro for HG there, caller. I think you caught him off guard there. I think he even found himself resorting to English there. Well done. You caught him off guard.
There's a first for everything. And the day I catch HG off guard, that'll be the first. And joining us again, a welcome return. I think the first time on with me, Craig, or it might be the second. Actually, I'm not sure.
First time. Yeah. I feel like good to be back on a Friday night. I feel like Spence had been promoted into the first team, so excited for another evening of chat.
Yeah, this call up to the first team tonight. Congratulations! So and obviously we want to hear from all of you as well at home. So please do let us know what's going on. Get your super chats in. We want to hear what's on your mind as we look through to the weekend's football. But first, obviously, it's with great sadness and on behalf of everyone at the Cheese Room, we pay our respects to Gian Piero Ventrone, who sadly passed away this week. This loss is going to be felt by everyone at the club, isn't it, Craig? I mean, he was such a big character. I had the privilege of thanks to Mr. Diver, of watching a couple of sort of closed doors training sessions after everyone had gone home, and you could just tell the players absolutely respected him. And he was absolutely beasting them. But high fives and hugs for all of them as they come off the pitch. It's going to be a loss massively felt by all, isn't it?
Oh, massively. I mean, the sheer level of public outpouring from the players about this man is just phenomenal, isn't it? And I think he's not only in such a small space of time had this massive impact on the players at Tottenham. He's been a big part of Conte's team, hasn't he, for a long time. So this is going to be something that's felt hard, I think, across the players and the coaching staff. And it's going to be interesting how the players and the coaching staff respond actually in this coming week of football. But yeah, definitely a big loss, and I'm absolutely devastated.
Yeah, gutted all round, Jack.
Yeah.
How you feeling about this?
I mean, what we can really, I think Craig hit a lot of the talking points of it, but what I can really stress is that, I mean, it's kind of incredible that someone could make such an impact so quickly at a job and actually have so many people already come out with real heartfelt messages and almost personal messages is probably what you would add as well. Like in the case of Richarlison, Sonny, etc., have put kind of their own personal touch on it, which sort of is kind of incredible that someone could have such an impact on people so quickly within a job and just with any environment really in general. And that probably we only know so much about the guy, but I think that probably speaks to the human being, at least apart from football, speaks to the human being that he is, that someone could actually just have such an impact on people so quickly and have such a human touch on them. And then on top of that, like you said, Craig, he's actually been a part of Conte's sort of managerial pathway as well as player pathway for I don't know, he's just been a part of Conte's life, simply that, like as part of his whole football life. And there's something to be said there where Conte is going to be feeling the loss and the players are feeling the loss. You would probably say normally maybe only Conte would be feeling the loss, but it kind of feels like everybody's sort of feeling the loss, which is incredible with how short he's been here.
Absolutely. And HG, for Conte, as the guys have said, he's been with him, nicknamed the Marine. He's been with him pretty much all of Conte's coaching career. It kind of explains a little bit why his demeanour's been so off. Really, he's been appearing to be quite down. We know why now.
Yeah, I mean that's just it. Like when you've known someone for as long as they've known each other 30 odd years. It's obviously going to have an effect. I mean that is it. And I mean Jack said it all. The fact that it's affected the players as well is definitely meaningful. but if anything, I mean, you have to hope that, as sad as it is, it's going to bring everyone together, and they'll want to, even more do their best, in memory of him. Certainly in the game tomorrow, like you can imagine they've had those conversations with each other that we're going to do this for the Marine, and let's hope it gets that way. But it's just awful to go from what I've read. It didn't appear that he knew he was ill that long ago, and suddenly it's over, and it makes everyone kind of hold their kids and their loved ones a bit stronger because it's so out of the blue.
No, absolutely. And the players had some lovely words to say about him. So let's look at a little bit of that. So Richarlison, since I arrived at Tottenham, Gian has been such a huge inspiration to me. He's always said that I would help him a lot during the season, but who helped me was him. Today, much more than he can imagine. We woke up to the terrible news of his passing. We're all devastated. I will continue to play for your message. Richarlison's not even been at the club 5 minutes. It's as you say, it's incredible.
Like, especially with the job that he does. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd think he'd be almost like the one they don't want to see because what he's making them do, and yet he's turned that into the feeling that they clearly have for him. It's quite incredible.
Yeah. Tribute from Harry Kane and Ryan Mason as well, and there's many more. Sonny and Doherty, all the players. I haven't got time. We haven't got time to go through all of them. There's so many, but rest in peace. And obviously, the impact from that is going to put a dark cloud over the game at Brighton, but. Hopefully, let's hope the players go out there and give him a performance that a lung-busting performance that he would be proud of, because he absolutely did beast them on a pre-season. You think back to Korea and the players like collapsing by the side of the pitch whilst he's like screaming at them to work harder. It's just it's incredible that life is so fleeting. That you can be there 1 minute and gone the next. So very, very sad. Very sad. To move things forward, let's talk about the game against Frankfurt, HG's German club. Starting lineup, any surprises, Jack?
It was funny because I think there was this dilemma where a lot of people wanted to see, in the ideal world, they wanted to see Royale punished, or they wanted to see him shown a lesson, or whatever it may be for the stupid challenge that he put in the North London derby. But because Conte really favors Royale so much, and because he, after the words about Doherty, I think we all knew that it was going to be actually Emerson Royale for this one. And to be fair, I mean, I'm getting away from the point, but I actually didn't think he didn't unimpress as much as we probably expected him to do. I think he actually had a decent game against Frankfurt. But the likes of the rest of the lineup, I mean, the whole thing was probably, again, the 3-5-2. We had probably thought that the 3-5-2 was going to be used again, considering Kulusevski was out, as well as Lucas continues to be out. We're kind of confused about that sort of situation. It seems to be very delicate with his sort of injury and not very clear as to when he'll actually be back. But Kulusevski was out, so we kind of thought he'd be a bit more conservative for this one. But I'll be honest, caller, I didn't really see any. I don't know. I kind of just saw this lineup coming. I kind of think this is what we expected, unless we really were convinced he played 3-5-2. This was sort of the 3-4-3 that we definitely expected for the most part, I would say.
And Craig, taking criticism on social media, Conte getting a verbal bashing or a keyboard warrior bashing from some in the Twitter sphere. Are these people insane? I mean, I've read calls of Conte out. If this was Jose, he'd be getting hammered, etc. The guy's won, multiple league titles recently. We're not talking in the distant past. Like a season ago at Inter. He's a serial winner. Yet, Bob on Twitter or Joe on Twitter or whoever you want to, look at. They think they know better. Is this? I mean, no one's above criticism, clearly. But do you think it's a bit bonkers that people?
It's cooler. It's absolutely mental. honestly, I've never used my mute button and block button as much as I have on Twitter this last couple of weeks because it's insanity. Forget what Conte's done at other clubs. I just look at what he's done at our club. You know, in the short space of time that he's been at this club to get us into the top 4 last season with the finish that we had, to even be in the Champions League this season, the transfer window that he's overseen, I think, has been phenomenal with the help of Paratici this summer. And this criticism, I think it's as much driven by this weird thirst for our players, for our fans to see these new signings come in the team. You know, they're desperate to see Basuma, they're desperate to see Spence. And sometimes I think that desperation, we see things through a bit of a weird lens. You know, we forget what we're looking at in front of us. We're third in the league. You know, we've lost once in the league in God knows how long against Arsenal, which we always lose at Arsenal, by the way. Let's not forget that. We're playing, I think, in the main, good football. You know, does the fact that he persists on 3-4-3, he knowing we're going to lose a midfield battle, does it frustrate me a little bit? It does sometimes, but I get the bigger picture and what he's trying to do, and it's working. In the main, it's working, isn't it? And this call, I saw someone tweet about Conte's got to go, his time's up, blah, blah, blah. And the comparisons to Mourinho, by the way, that's equally as bonkers because there's no comparison between what we're doing in terms of our style of play and what we was doing under Mourinho. No comparison.
Do you kind of feel like also, Craig, like there's credit in the bank that Conte has already earned, that maybe we forgot about that? Because there was a big debate even last season that I feel like we forgot about. A lot of people wrote us off for top 4. A lot of people didn't think we would get top 4. He proved the doubters wrong, got top 4. I mean, Spurs made the most of it, made a whole documentary about it, about him getting top 4. And when you look at it that way, that's sort of already credit in the bank that should be in the place with Spurs fans. And we go through 1 or 2 defeats and all of a sudden that credit is lost.
Yeah, but what's the alternative? You know, we've got arguably, as Cole has alluded to, the best manager in world football right now. Certainly the best manager available to Tottenham. You know, why would we even... It's like having a worldie on your arm and then, you know, ditching her for someone arguably a lot less better looking or less looking down the road at the nightclub. It's stupid. We've got a fantastic world-class manager in Conte. We're not going to get any better. He's, in my opinion, far better than Pochettino, and will go on to achieve better things at Tottenham than Pochettino would have done in terms of trophies, I suspect. So we've got to stick with this guy, trust him, as he said in his press conference. Didn't he use the words "trust me"? Fans need to trust me and trust my decision making. And I'm, like you said, Jack, he's got so much credit in the bank with me personally. I'm not one of those fans that boo at the stadium when it's a 0-0 at half time, and I'm certainly not one of those fans that's going to jump up and down because he's not playing Spence or Bissouma. He has his reasons, and he'll bring them in the right time. At the right time. And I saw a comparison, sorry to go on, he brought, when we signed Kulu and when we signed Bentancur, that he put them straight in the team. Why is he not doing the same with the Spence and with Bissouma? Well, there's a difference. He didn't have a choice. We was desperate. We had to play Bentancur. We had to bring Kulu into the line because of the lack of depth we had and the fact we shipped out 6 Deadwood players at that time. He can now, because we've got a squad, take his time and pick when he's going to introduce these players in. And the final point I'll make, and I'll shut up, I promise, is when he has brought Bissouma in, you remember his first game he started, he was awful.
Yeah, he didn't take his opportunity.
No, he didn't. He was awful. And that seems to be forgotten about. It's all of a sudden, it's like, no, it's still this clamour to bring him back in. And actually, I think Bentancur's been, a really good, had a really good solid start to the season for us. I think Højbjerg's his general. He's never going to drop Højbjerg, is my gut fear, unless he has to because it's of rotational tired. He's tired. Except we've got 2 good players in that midfield that play the Conte way, and that's what we've got. Is my take.
Okay, now I'm going to be the devil's advocate a little bit, just a little bit.
I mean, that's not like you at all.
It's not, is it? No.
So,
Okay, so if you hadn't seen Tottenham play this season, you'd look at the table. And you look at the Champions League table and you'd be thinking, I'm well happy with this. I mean, we are in it. We're still in it. We've still got, it's all in our hands, all that kind of cliches. And that's all true. Absolutely true. I think the clamour for Bissouma is less based on how he did at West Ham, because obviously he didn't play well, but more on the fact that a lot of fans want to see 3-5-2.
Yeah.
I don't think they necessarily want to see Bissouma. They just want to see a 3-5-2. They want to see
Well, they
something
definitely
different.
don't want to see Harry Winks.
No, exactly, but it's like.
Sorry, HG. It's not. I think it's the 3-5-2 though. It doesn't become. I think it's not because of Bissouma. I think it's because fans are getting frustrated with not dominating the ball in the middle third, and they're frustrated with Conte's tactic of essentially accepting that we're not going to have the ball and that we're going to be dominated, outnumbered in that middle third. But they overlook. I think fans forget that Conte is fully aware of the consequence of playing 3-4-3 and the fact that we're outnumbered in the midfield, but actually gives us all benefits and opportunities elsewhere on the pitch, doesn't it? That's his tactical master plan, and he's never going to change that. That's what he does.
I mean, you say this, but people talked about how we played well against Frankfurt on Tuesday night. Our back three were much higher than normal in that game. We pushed quite high up and we dominated. First half especially, they couldn't get out their own half, Frankfurt. So there are tactical tweaks here. Like if a 3-4-3 is going to work better if we put our centre-backs, closer to the halfway line, great. I think Spurs fans want to see that. We don't want to see on the edge of our 18-yard box defending a lot. So the clamour for a 3-5-2 would become less if we played higher up the pitch with 3-4-3 and were scoring more goals, because clearly then we'd think it was working. It's that kind of, we're in that halfway house. So I don't know anyone who wants Conte gone, and thankfully I'm not friends with people on Twitter who have said that, right? But I do understand that there are people who, maybe like myself, who look at it and think we're not doing maybe the best that we can. Right, we're not playing as well as we can, and when that's the situation, and you're playing the same 11 every time, at what point do we say, enough's enough at this? Like, let's try something else. Maybe we will become better. And sadly, if there hadn't been evidence last season when Doherty came in because Royal wasn't playing, and we started winning games by 4-0 at Villa, 5. Well, he got injured at Villa, but 4-0 at Leeds, 5-1 against Newcastle. You start thinking it's not that long ago to be able to look at that and think we played quite well against teams with 3 at the back, against everyone, pretty much. We played quite well in those times. So it's a little frustrating that even though we all know that Emerson Royal has basically been first choice since Conte took over, there is this idea that it's not working as well as it could. The results have been great. We can't argue with that, really. But people, like Spurs fans, want to be winning every game 4-0. And I know that's that's not likely. We know we're not Man City, but I do think that, at least personally, I think there is maybe something better we could be hoping for. If our aim for every game is to just defend deep and hope that our front three can do something, well, I don't see much evidence that that's really going to work right now. Maybe they'll all go on a tear and we can do that, but it's a struggle to see that happening.
Yeah, but I think we haven't been what we do when we play well. And it's because our front three tick, right? And the front three do well. Those little passes in that final third pull off, come off, don't they? And we have success for it. Or Sonny scores a worldie or 2 worldies in the case of Leicester. So and you look at the Frankfurt game, it was 0-0, but arguably, we in the first half, particularly as you've alluded to, HG, we could have scored 4 goals, 5 goals. In another game, another day, we would have scored 3 or 4 goals in that half.
We just need to shoot more. I mean, that's the thing with Spurs.
Exactly.
We're not creating the chances that our possession was getting us, because we had more possession than them, and usually we're the team that has the least. So it's just like you see incremental changes, and it feels much better. But at the end of the day, we didn't test trap, we didn't score any goals, and on another day we lose that game 1-0. Another day it's the Sporting Lisbon game revisited. It's just like when you see Spurs playing probably. I don't think anywhere near 70% of what they can. That's a struggle to take, because we can be better.
Jack, do you agree with that? And do you think we're missing Kulu a bit? A couple of games out, obviously not available for Brighton. Is he the man that provides that final pass, that cutting edge that gets us on the score sheet? And is that the problem?
There is something to be said that perhaps what maybe the 3-4-3 has always been missing is Kulusevski, because Kulusevski not only is able to connect sort of the midfield with the attack, but he also has this sort of special, almost babysitter-like relationship with Emerson Royal, where he's able to be able to know what positions Emerson Royal will pick up, what positions he'll take up. And they have this sort of, I don't know, kind of telepathic relationship, whether it not be the same world-class telepathic relationship as Son and Kane. It's between two players that clearly understand each other in a way where I actually think he brings the best out of Emerson. He also brings the best out of connecting the midfield and the attack when they do maybe lack that sort of connection at times, when Højbjerg isn't able to maybe find Kane and etc. maybe too often or as much as we would like. But then there's also I don't know. I think that's where Spurs fans get frustrated is we've maybe seen that Richarlison can sort of do a job as a winger, but he's not nearly as effective as Kulusevski is. And then when we are kind of dropping players, or not dropping players, just missing maybe the ideal starting 11 for the 3-4-3, we start to see the deficiencies of the 3-4-3. Another example would be is when we put Sanchez in, we see how vulnerable the back three is in kind of sort of possession, how a lot of teams seem to take advantage of Sanchez in possession, etc. And I think the same thing is happening with Kulusevski, maybe not being in that right wing position. Richarlison is just not holding the ball up in the same way that maybe a Kulusevski can. I actually think Richarlison has some exceptional flick-ons and some exceptional kind of one-touch passing to get kind of the play going, but he doesn't really have the composure that maybe a natural winger would. And sometimes when he picks it up, oftentimes I feel like Richie gives it away when you kind of look at it and you're like, he probably could have taken a few touches there and been able to kind of get things going. And I think he does more of a job as a winger. He's not a natural winger. And so then that's where I kind of see, Collar, where fans are coming from is like, if you don't have Kulusevski, who kind of helps that 3-4-3 a lot and helps out a lot of players with that 3-4-3, maybe you do go with a 3-5-2 where Richarlison is already better through the middle. Sonny kind of seems to be a bit better through the middle. Maybe a lot of players are just more comfortable that way. And then my last little point is, I think the reason we want more exciting football, where I kind of agree with Craig, I think the reason we all want more exciting football is the two teams that are right next to us at the top of the table happen to be playing a very exciting brand of football right now. We're right next to them, but we're playing a less exciting brand of football. So I think there's that kind of jealousy factor that we have right now, where with the Lego man at Arsenal is playing beautiful football, and then Pep Guardiola with his blank check football players over there is also surprisingly or unsurprisingly playing beautiful football. So I think there's something
the fact we got stuffed 3-0 by Arsenal. Let's face into it.
3-1.
Sorry, 3-1. I even forgot we scored it that bad. But you know, the fact we got stumped at the Emirates
we have to give ourselves credit. They can't achieve the 3-1. They haven't achieved the 3-1
against the team that does move the ball around so well. And credit the Goons. They do play nice.
They didn't play that well. I mean, I don't think they played that well to beat us. I mean, granted, we beat ourselves because we gave them the second and then we got a player sent off.
True.
But like Arsenal weren't amazing in that game.
They didn't earn the goals. They didn't score. We gave them the goals. We gave them Partey. We were so deep that Partey just had a hit. He scored it. I think in the case of Lloris, you just look at Lloris and Romero, whoever you want to blame, you look at them. Yeah. And then by that case, Emerson's red card, it's already kind of, I don't know, it's already panned. It's just just chaos at that stage. And I kind of find, despite all the beautiful football of Arteta and whatnot over there, I find myself kind of thinking they didn't actually score that many goals, or they didn't really score any goals that really Spurs didn't hand to them, if you look at it. Of course, with my beautiful Spurs lenses that I'm using.
Let's just have this debate just for a moment. So do you think the frustration is that Royal is the fourth best player we have to play as a right wing back? So Doherty, Spence, Decky. I mean, look, you know my view. I'd have Doherty in the team. I'd have had Doherty in the team from the start, HG.
I'm surprised he was fourth. I thought Lucas would have beaten him to it.
Well, he's injured. He's perpetually injured, Lucas. I was going to say before, actually, I know we're talking about I know Jack was talking about Richarlison coming in on the right for Decky, and how that's he's not doing quite the same job. How nice and refreshing is it, though, to have a player of the class of Richarlison instead of seeing Lucas give the ball away on the right every single time? But I digress. HG, right back position. I mean, he's not going to shift from Royal, is he? But should he?
Well, I think it depends on who you're playing. I mean, that's just it. Like, we all know that he's a decent defender, Emerson Royal. But in games, in games where you think you're going to want to score, and like you're not so worried about the quality of the opposition. I mean, I don't know how to put it without sounding a bit patronising, but like Doherty proved last season that he fits a 3-4-3 and that he plays really well with Kulusevski. I think we've seen that right now. Obviously, Kulusevski's out, so bringing Doherty in for tomorrow makes it. Would it really work with Richarlison, or in a 3-5-2 would Doherty really work? And then I have my own questions. So I think all of the right wing backs offer something different. Right, so if we were to go 3-5-2 tomorrow, I would like to see Seb Spence play personally, because I think the pace from him or from Sessegnon on either side would be really good for Spurs and would give us more threat. I think that's our issue right now. Everything's focused on the front three, front two, and there's really no one else to help them. And if they're not getting it right, which they haven't done, we need to give them options further up the pitch. So which one's best overall? I would have expected Doherty to play most of the games this season, but in the bigger ones, play Emerson, no problem. In certain games, play Spence. It's all about kind of what they bring to the side. Like, I would hope, because we can't go out and buy the best right wing back in the world, we have to try and create the best team. And I'm sure that's what Conte is trying to do. I'm sure that's what he thinks he's doing. But it's this idea of defending is obviously a massive part of the game, but we need to be a bit more progressive going forward. We saw that in our positioning against Frankfurt. Maybe now that Royal's out, we'll see a different type of right wing back. But which one's best is to me, it's really dependent on who you're playing.
Agreed. Lots of chances came our way against Frankfurt. Couldn't take any off them. Pretty average performance, but a good away point. Interesting for me, Craig. Brian Hill with a 20-minute cameo. I love a bit of Brian Hill. I've got to be honest.
You're a fan caller.
I want to see him give it a chance. That's all. I think we spent all this money on a player, and then he's basically not played for 2 years. And
he's got the hair, he's got the flair. He's been
slagged off to Kingdom Come as well by the fan base.
He had a tiny little bit of David Ginola almost, wasn't it? With that one bit of skill,
he gives you a little taster, and then he'll flop over the floor.
Exactly, yeah. I like Brian Hill. I'm with you, Caller. I think he's got potential, and I think he could be a good player. My honest view is I don't think he'll do it at Tottenham. I think he'll be one of those that'll end up moving on, if I'm being honest. But I thought his cameo was okay. He got knocked off the ball far too easily, didn't he? He really did. But that little bit of skill was enjoyable for that second anyway.
Yeah. HG, seen enough to start him at the weekend?
As a left wing back, what we're thinking, to me, he's always been a left winger. I want to see him down the left. I don't want to see him playing as an inverted right wing back. I don't want to see him playing in the Kulusevski position because I just don't think it works for him. I think he's better. The bit of skill we saw was when he was actually down the left defending.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it just seems a much more natural fit for him. And I don't when you looked at him play for Ibar, whoever it was, he was on loan before we signed him. He played down the left. I don't understand why. I mean, granted, what do I know? I'm just one of those keyboard warriors, but I don't get it. He seems much more comfortable, and with so many players, it really is. A lot of it's down to that. If you put Doherty down the left, he can do you a decent job, but he's not as good as he is down the right. If you put, we saw it. We see it with defenders all the time. Sanchez as a right centre back is passable. As a left centre back, he looks worse than me. It's such a small positional change. You wouldn't think it would matter that much, but clearly it does. And so for someone like,
do you think it's
Brian,
you would know this reference? And I know this is a very generous compliment to Brian, but do you think it's kind of like Leroy Sané, where he actually plays pretty poor anywhere else but left mid? If you know anything about Leroy Sané,
absolutely.
There's that sort of theory that he plays, or you could play him through the middle. Maybe he kind of plays well through the middle, but there's that thinking that, oh, he should play well on the right. Look how good he is, but he actually doesn't. He plays pretty poor, weirdly, on the right. Leroy Sané, and he's exceptional, as we all know.
A lot of it might be to do with how defenders work against them, right? As an attacker, you need to know what the defender's going to try and do to stop you, so you can be one step ahead. And if I'm a left back defending someone who's going to cut in, my defensive style will be different than if I'm a right back who facing someone who wants to go down the outside. It's just a bit frustrating because not only has he rarely played for us, because I think he got 80 minutes in the Premier League last season, he's not played more than maybe 2 or 3 in the Premier League for us this year. it's he's never going to get those chances. And the only reason he's on the bench right now probably is because Lucas and Kulusevski are injured.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
It's just a shame. Like I think that if there's
It's
ever
about
a time,
taking your chances, HG, surely to a degree. I mean, he's got 20 minutes. He's got to impress Conte.
Again,
but
then
trying too hard.
Maybe, but it's like putting Sanchez up front. I mean, it's just like we've seen a couple of times this season that when we've been in chasing a goal, we early on in Chelsea we threw Richarlison on and went 4-4-2, old school 4-4-2. If you're going to do that and you've got Perisic as your left winger, well, hello. That's your time to see Brian. Even if it is 20 minutes trying to chase a game, that we saw him do it in the Chelsea Cup semi-final. He had that one little run where he made Azpilicueta look stupid. It's just that the talent is there. I just don't think we're putting him in a position to really show it.
Do you not think, HD, though, that he's just not a Conte player, though?
Definitely.
He's not. He's just Conte. Conte. The reality is, he would have gone to Valencia on loan, wouldn't he, if it wasn't for us being able to bring in an alternative, I think. But he's just not a Conte, and that's why, for no fault of his own, he could well be a good player. I just don't think he'll be a good player at Tottenham with Conte, because I just don't think he'll get the opportunities as you described. I agree with everything you said. Right.
I think he'd have to have an exceptional season on loan somewhere where that would convince Conte, or he would have to outlive Conte. In some realm or possibility. I would say, though, Collar, it was a bit embarrassing on the watch along on the Irish Hotspur. It shows how much we love Hill Messi on the channel, because it also maybe showed how desperate we were for a goal at 0-0, because how excited we got to see him come onto the pitch was a bit embarrassing. I think it was a bit embarrassing when I think about it, because it really was a bit sad to see that was the only attacking option that Conte had.
I think I'm right in saying
but we got very excited to see him. We got very excited to see him.
He was stripped off and ready to go at Arsenal, and then Conte changed his mind for some reason. So I suppose the refreshing thing is at least like he's maybe going to get a few chances, which is certainly more than a certain right wing back is getting right now. Back to the group, and this is where it leaves us. Sporting top, obviously, bastards. Spurs, but we can do this, can't we? I mean, we've got Sporting to come at home, Frankfurt to come at home, and Marseille, the bottom team, away. There's no reason why we can't win that group, right, Jack?
No, I think that result that Marseille gave us was huge, actually, when you really look at it. It really, truly was, because Sporting could have really pretty much just had, the group probably, I think, sealed by that stage. And then as well, we would have seen the likes of us be basically competing with either Frankfurt or Marseille for this sort of second spot. And it would have been kind of a tight contest, I think, as well. We do have the benefit of having more home games, I think, for the rest of this. I think that is kind of huge for us, perhaps an advantage over the likes of Frankfurt. I see us beating Frankfurt at home. Marseille, I think, is a tough team. I will be honest, away from home. They do seem to be a good team, at least domestically. I like Igor Tudor, the manager. I also like saying his name out loud. But as well, I do feel like they are a tough test. It's weirdly, I feel like all these sort of teams in our group are kind of on some sort of equal level in some shape or form. They all have their own strengths, their own weaknesses, but they all seem to be decent tests to us in like some sort of shape. So I see us advancing from this group. I see that Marseille result as an absolute favor. I must be honest. I think if we didn't get that result, it'd be very tricky from here on out, because we really need to win these games. I think we still need to win these games. Don't get me wrong. But maybe my point is that that result that Marseille gave us was actually a bit of a favor.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Always a bit of banter. There you go. Never mind. We had the chances to win it, didn't we? But I'm pretty confident that we're going to qualify from that group. I'm confident that all the 90 people that are watching this channel right now are going to smash that like button and help us out. It takes 2 seconds, costs you nothing, means the world to us. Please do hit that like button. Send us a super chat, and if you don't send us a super chat, send us your views. We'll get through them all on the chat that we can. But we have lots to cover. Brighton, 5:30 UK time on Sky Sports. Perfect time, apart from the fact that it clashes with kids' meal time in my house. So 5:30, Brighton away. Difficult proposition, aren't they, HG? They've looked good this season.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, obviously, the Potter effect is no longer there, right? So we don't really know what they're going to be like under the new manager, but their first result was a good one. Getting a point at Anfield, as much as Liverpool aren't that great this season, it's still Liverpool, and they turned it around to 3-2. You thought they'd go on and win the game, and Brighton got it back to a draw. So it's not going to be easy. I mean, Brighton are one of those teams where they're going to have possession, they're going to look good, and you just wonder if they're going to score. And if Trossard is scoring, which it looks like he is now, that's a threat, because otherwise you look at that team and you think, Gross is good from set pieces, they'll get the odd penalty, but without a central striker knocking them in, everyone else has to chip in with something. So if Trossard is doing that, he's clearly their main man. But it's we went to Brighton in March, and I think we were all a little bit nervous then. And then suddenly, we won that game 2-0, and Kane kicked the Coke bottle, and everything was fine again. So I mean, I guess I'm happy that Potter's no longer there, because you just don't know. I mean, De Zerbi's a good manager, but you don't really know what you're going to get. But it's all on Spurs. If we play like we can, then we know we can win. If we play like we have been, that's where the nerves are. I mean, that's why I'm nervous.
I mean, Jack, what are you thinking here?
I think the last time I was on, I think I found myself wanting to answer this question more than any of the Tottenham-related questions you had given me that evening. And I don't even think, being the professional that I am, caller, I actually resisted answing this question.
Go on,
so I decided to put it in the super chat. I don't even have my answer yet, because I enjoyed a freeze-dried anything. I think anything freeze-dried is impressive. It always looks aesthetically pleasing. But when I really think about it, probably the garnish that you would really say is the best, something that looks nice, but also you could technically eat, because the freeze-dried ones you can't always eat. Like a freeze-dried lime looks like you can eat it, but we all know you can't eat it.
Can't you?
So I don't know. I'm lack of ideas. What's a good sort of garnish that looks good in a drink, but at the same time you can also consume?
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm out of Peroni, so I'll go and mix something up while you discuss Brighton, and I'll be back in a minute, and you can guess the garnish. Yeah. HG, have you got a favourite garnish? HG's teetotal. So.
Yeah, I don't drink alcohol. This is the one question that I will not answer.
Well, you can still have lemon.
I just thought of this. Do you enjoy? I just thought of this. Edamame. Do you guys know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
An edamame, I think, that'd be kind of interesting to put in like a drink of some sort. Even like if it was a club soda, I think that'd be kind of cool. Put like a salty goes
Craig,
with
do
it.
you like garnish, Craig?
I was going to say I wouldn't want to pick fruit, because it's just the obvious choice, isn't it, to go for some sort of fruit? So I'll probably go for a salt to go with my tequila.
Okay, yeah.
About one of those little umbrellas.
An umbrella is a great garnish.
That is a great. Can't eat it though, can you?
You hold that thought. I'll be back with a cheeky gin.
Yeah,
no need to have my parameters. No need to have my parameters.
If we could cover the team news, that would be good.
Okay.
See you in a mo.
Right. Does anyone know anything about the team news? Because Dyer's fit, right?
Dyer's fit. Dyer's fit, available to play. Yeah.
Despite the limping video.
Yeah, apparently.
He was limping off the bus quite severely.
Yeah, just looked like an impact, didn't it? Happens to me every time I play five-a-side.
That's good. So, I mean, that's funny, because we spent about 30 minutes today on the Irish Hotspur looking at scenarios where if Eric Dyer wasn't available, and it wasn't pretty by the looks of things. Especially.
I think it's pretty much exactly the same as the last games, wasn't it, in terms of available? Everyone's available who has been.
Lucas is
Moura,
injured.
I would imagine.
Lucas is out.
Injured. And then Emerson is obviously suspended.
Yeah.
Right? So you're looking at definitely one change. But I mean, who would you go for, Craig? Like, I mean, would you be sticking with the 3-4-3? Would you want to see something different?
So I personally would like to see. Personally, I'd like to see 3-5-2. I don't think he'll go 3-5-2. I think we'll start 3-4-3. So on the basis that I think we will play 3-4-3, I think there'll only be one change in that team, and it'll be the forced change with Royale. And I actually think it will be Perisic will go that side, and Sessegnon will be on the left. Is exactly what will happen, is my gut feel.
I think you're spot on with that. I imagine that we're not going to see any surprises with Doherty or Spence. That'd be lovely to see it, to be fair. It'd be kind of crazy considering all the quotes and everything for them to be tossed in there. But away from home as well, there is that sort of trickiness where I always feel like people do kind of take into, or maybe don't take into account, the fixture, where I do like to see maybe changes and dramatic changes. We all want to see Jed Spence given that chance, but away from home at the MX, where we always seem to have some weird hoodoo there. Maybe not last season, but we do have a bit of kind of a trouble there. Perhaps it's not the perfect game for Jed Spence to come in right away. And I agree. Perisic and Sessegnon, he will go with. What I will say though is Perisic, I think he will. I think he'll get better going forward. I think he's been slightly not as amazing as we all wanted him to be right away going forward. But his defensive ability, I think, on the right against Leicester was probably the reason why Conte might have switched him and Sessegnon. I think.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Jack, about the Leicester performance, because I think we've seen glimpses of Perisic going forward, haven't we? Which has been quite exciting. Some of his deliveries and crosses into the box have been phenomenal. We perhaps haven't seen as much of it as we would want to have seen, but he was woeful against Leicester at right wing back. I remember watching the game and actually wishing for Royale.
So hang on a second. So like all three of us and probably everyone who's watching agrees that this is what we think Conte's going to do. That's boring. Let's talk about what we want to see. Right?
Well, I think we all want to see
more
Jed Spence. I think if any, I actually am on the sort of bus where I don't know. I'm kind of like, since David Harris, the other David Harris, sees a lot of Ireland. He basically sees more of Matt Doherty, poor guy, than any other living soul that's a Tottenham fan, since he watches every Ireland game and has basically seen Matt Doherty throughout his whole career.
Let's not have any Doherty slander.
No, not while he's gone. Well, you were gone. We figured we could fit it in while you were gone. But I don't know. I'd like to see Jed Spence given more of an opportunity first than Matt Doherty is what I would just quickly say. I think we know what Matt Doherty brings. And if anything, right now against Arsenal, he still didn't look up to pace. And I do think you do see the difference between him and Emerson, sort of athletically and physically. Whereas like Jed Spence, athletically and physically, I think is just as good as Emerson. And he might have that end product going forward that Emerson lacks. So
my problem, Jack, with Spence, and my nervousness around saying Spence, and I know there's a clamour for him, is he's an unknown in the Premier League.
Totally.
You've got to remember, he's never played in the Premier League. He's played against Premier League teams, obviously in the Cup, and that's been talked about at Forest, but he is an unknown. So you put him in, Brighton away, I just think it's too big.
It goes against the occasion. Like I said, Brighton away doesn't seem ideal. Doesn't seem ideal for him.
So as much as I want to see Spence, and I do think Spence is the long-term right wing-back option for us, I do think that it will be something that we see over the season. He'll get the pick of the games, as you talked about, HG. It'll be the cup game away at wherever we're playing in the cup game. You know,
is he only ever going to play at Forest? Whether it's for Forest or for Spurs, he's only ever going to play.
That was so not like Conte, wasn't it? As well, it was almost like an emotional. What's the word I'm looking for? It was like a little
lapse of concentration and showing emotional, showing emotion.
Yeah, I'll do the right thing. Give you a run out against Forest. It was weird. That was, but anyway. But yeah.
Okay, this is it. So look, I am clearly in the 3-5-2 camp. Solely, one, because we haven't really played that well with 3-4-3. Certainly not against the back three, which Brighton play anyway. And we don't have our best, our most important player in that, which is Kulusevski, who can link it all together. Without that, it's kind of you're hoping a little bit. So to me, it's 3-5-2. And the back three, we know if they're fit, it'll be probably Longley, Dyer, and Romero. I have a feeling Conte might bring Davies back in because I think he trusts him more than Longley. But that's a Conte thing. For me, it would be Longley, Dyer, and Romero, and then I would have Sessegnon and I would have Spence as the wing backs, because if you've got three central midfielders and you've got Højbjerg on the right and Bendika on the left, Højbjerg can cover that space anyway. So when Spence really bombs down the wing, I don't think we're going to be nervous about what's going to happen behind him, because Romero's there anyway. So I just think that if you're going to play a 3-5-2, that is probably the best thing for both Sessegnon and Spence, because they can focus on using their pace to get forward. They don't have to worry so much about getting back. We all saw over the last couple of seasons Aurier trundling back and Trippier didn't have the pace to get back. Well, these guys do, but let's try and use them as an attacking threat. So to me, it would be, Bissouma, Bentancur, Højbjerg in midfield. You'd have Spence and Sessegnon as the wing backs, and then Kane and Son up front. That would be my 11. But I know that we're not going to see that.
I have to say Perisic is going to be the right back.
Yeah, we talked about it, but I don't want that.
Right back.
Yeah. To me, for tomorrow, it would be Spence. Who have we got after that? Is it Everton next? Yeah, then maybe Doherty more for Everton, right? But I think I don't know. I just think Spence. We've got nothing really to lose by playing him. Like, who is suddenly the worst team we have between now and the World Cup that we can play him in? I don't want to think like that. We've got a situation where if we're going to play 3 in midfield, which is what I want to see, then let those wing backs use their speed and go forward, and then it becomes almost like a 3-3-4. But great, if we can do that, why not? I feel like it's the best use of our. And I think Doherty is a better wing back than Spence, but I just think in this case, why not let Spence go out there and do it?
Let us know your favourite garnish tonight in the chat. Just been and poured myself a lovely gin and tonic. Do you want to know what I've got then, Jack?
Look like pomegranate?
No, red currants.
Oh, that's nice.
Red currants, yeah, with a bit of freeze-dried,
Nice.
Apple. Yeah.
Well, that might be the freeze-dried combination I was speaking of.
And you can eat that, Caller, can't you? Definitely eat that.
You can eat that. The piece de la résistance.
I feel like with a freeze-dried apple as well, it doesn't get probably too different from the normal apple taste. That's a good call there.
I know what you're thinking. How do you follow up apple and red currants? Well, you get a rosebud.
Wow. The combination of bad drinks and terrible French pronunciation. Are you trying to be Del Boy? Like, really? Is that the goal?
Mange two.
I've never heard of rosebuds in a drink before. Now, that is a unique garnish, Caller. I've got to say.
It is a unique garnish. And I've got to say, this gin is beautiful. Cotton Garden Gin, it's called. Made in Yorkshire.
Wow.
Yeah,
all the best things are in Yorkshire.
Did you harvest your own rosebuds, by the way?
No, they were freeze-dried too. I bring it all in freeze-dried.
You have a special freezer for these?
Yes. No, I buy them from someone who has got a special freezer. Oh, where's Craig gone? The thought of rose.
Freeze-dried
rosebuds in his tea. It is tea. It is gin. They're just too much for him to take. So he's gone off to get a gin. So in conclusion, we're up against a tough task, aren't we? That's their last lineup. I mean, I never thought that Danny Welbeck would be terrorising defences in the Premier League. Yeah, I'll be really honest, Jack. But he's having a bit of a renaissance, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that this season has been like the renaissance of the large man up top, if maybe for lack of a better term. I like to call them sometimes the donkeys for up top, and I think there's been a bit of a renaissance of them. I think it seems like clubs are starting to realize maybe with how progressive the game has become, and maybe perhaps even shorter and less profound, or maybe less talented players are in the air these days. There is sort of a benefit of keeping those Welbecks and whatnot. Richarlison's, I think Richarlison is much better than that. I think that was unfair to him. But the players that seem to be the Mitroviches, the Chris Woods and whatnot seem to become a bit useful, I think. And Welbeck, he's exceptional at just running into the channels. And if you just kind of ping those balls into the channels, he'll hold it up, play it back to somebody, he gets you up the pitch, and then he gives it into those more technical players. And when you look at that whole team there, I think there's just a bunch of exceptionally technically gifted players. And that's kind of what Welbeck offers, is that sort of pace, dynamism, a bit of that strength and athleticism that the rest of those players don't really have. And so they're able to get it into him. He can hold it up for them from time to time, get it into the other players who can then work their magic. Because as we know, from Pep Guardiola and other sides, sometimes you do maybe need just a big lump up top that can do a bit of work and be able to get you up the pitch. And I think Welbeck is almost, this might be really kind to him, another really kind compliment to a player here. But like we saw what Erling Haaland has done for Man City, and being able to be that sort of threat in behind and be that sort of physical threat you see what Danny Welbeck does for a team like Brighton, who are full of more smaller, technically gifted players. He helps them out by being that more physical threat that center backs have to think about. And I will say, just my last little thing, McAllister is probably that player in there. If we don't mention it later, is that player that really has impressed me this season. I think he actually, if anything, I know we're all looking at James Maddison, and I think he is exceptional. We should go after James Maddison for a creative midfielder. If we weren't to do James Maddison, I think McAllister is not a bad player to take a look at. What I do like about him is that he is able to play a bit deeper. He's showing that he can play in a two-man midfield and be able to hold his own, and he could probably be more of that creative midfielder if we did do like kind of a 3-5-2 of sorts. So I do like McAllister.
He's having a hell of a season. That's certainly for sure.
He's very technical. I think he's probably, actually, if anything, he might be the most technically gifted player in that whole Brighton team, is what I would say.
When you look at our form at Brighton, so honours even 1-2, lost 2, drawn 1.
I have to admit, I don't remember the 2021 game at all, the 1-0. I remember the 3-0 because that's when Hugo did his arm. And I remember the 2-1 because Lamella did something useful in that game. So they're pretty rare. Yeah. I think he got the winner in that 2-1 win for Spurs. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. Like, I mean, you look at that Brighton team. Can you put the Brighton team up again, Caller?
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's no one in that 11 really that you think, wow. I mean, the Caicedo looks a really good player, right?
In case you want to know what he looks like.
Is that Brendan? What?
It does look a bit like McGurty, doesn't it?
It's just a beard, probably. It's just a beard. But I don't think Brighton are one of those teams that are probably more than the sum of their parts, right? Like you look at Feltman. I watched Ajax. It was awful, absolutely awful Ajax. But he's come in now and he's kind of made that position his own once Duffy left.
Yeah, he's been great for them.
So it's just like they're all good players. There's no weakness there. But you wouldn't look at that team and think, oh, they're going to be fifth in the league, which is where they are, right? I mean, they are fifth, I think.
Yeah.
So you just, I don't know. Like, Brighton will be good. Brighton will always give you a pretty decent performance.
Who have they lost to this season, HG? Is it
Arsenal? I don't remember.
I think it was Fulham. Didn't Fulham give them a good game?
Fulham beat them, I think, in the last minute. Mitrovic got a winner in the last minute.
Big Mitro as well. Love to see that. Also, another thing that needs to be said about Brighton before it probably doesn't get said, Caller, I need to say this. Pascal Gross, if you haven't noticed this by now, Pascal Gross, I think, has the most furrowed eyebrows I've ever seen of any footballer. So in case you didn't notice that by now, his eyebrows are permanently furrowed. Even when he's happy, they're furrowed.
There you go.
So, sorry, if that helps for the analysis. If Conte's listening, that might help him for the 3-5-2 maybe tomorrow. The furrowed eyebrows.
Furrowed eyebrows. McGurty's in the chat, says he's way better looking than him, HG. So
no, I mean, to be fair, that's probably true. And Brendan does a better barbecue than anyone else I know. So it's
it definitely that's like pouring accelerant on your hot coals. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll take that. In fact, let's not talk that. Let's do predictions first. Brighton away. HG, let's go with you first. Stick with you.
Do you remember before the Arsenal game and I got called being super negative because I went 3-0 Arsenal, right?
Look, we're producing a show.
Yeah.
If I call you negative, it's for effect, obviously.
Okay, good. You can call me negative again. Brighton to win 2-1.
Ooh. I mean, based on the fact that you think they're going to out-football us with their formation.
I think Conte will be stubborn and go for a 3-4-3 that hasn't really shown much it's going to work. If he goes with Perisic down the right, I don't see that working either. Like, I mean, that's what I'm basing it on, right? I can't base it. Like, if it was our best team, according to me, versus whatever Brighton do, then I think we'd probably go on and win. But I don't know. We've not been creating many chances. We've certainly not been taking those chances. And I'm nervous it's going to continue. So if I was going to put my 50p on something, it would be on Brighton to win.
They have got Lewis Dunk, the original 50p head at the back as well. Jack, 50p head, that's definitely an English term. But what's your prediction for this one?
There's a lot with Potter, I probably would have predicted a lower scoreline, but with De Zerbi, I do kind of know bit about De Zerbi. I'm not really an expert or anything, but I do kind of like Shakhtar Donetsk, and so I sort of know my former Shakhtar coaches. And I think with De Zerbi, I could see this being his style being a bit more kind of hectic and a bit more kind of back and forth than Potter. If I know Potter's labeled as a very progressive manager and a very modern manager, but he did feel a bit more conservative because he liked to have a bit more control by the looks of things. Where De Zerbi, if anything, loves the chaos. He's almost quite German in that fact, in that he loves the chaos of football and how back and forth it can be. And so I actually could see this, if it were to be a 3-4-3 like HG predicted, I could see this being a bit of a basketball match where it actually could end up being all over the place. And I'm going to go 3-2 Spurs.
I like
a bit
that.
of an exciting one.
I like that prediction a lot better than the moody man.
Because Potter, I think, would have made it a much more of a tricky sort of affair. Because I think with Potter, he really likes to control games by the looks of it. So I think De Zerbi, there's that chance that it could be a hectic match. And I think actually the past matches between him and Conte, there's a bit of evidence behind that. So 3-2 is what I'll go for.
I like it. Craig, your thoughts?
I don't think that. I think with the new manager at Brighton, it will be evolution, not revolution. So I don't expect anyone to go in and to undo the great work that Potter's done at Brighton. I don't expect to see that change this quickly. So I do think we're going to see quite a Potter style still for the game tomorrow. I'm nervous about the game tomorrow. I'm a bit with HG a little bit. I'm a bit nervous about the game. I'm going to go for a 2-2.
A Desmond. Yeah, I'm going to say this is going to be... I want to say 3-2 like Jack, actually. That's kind of where I'm at. I think it will be... there'll be goals. We haven't got our defensive rock at right wing back, so, there'll absolutely be goals in it. I can see us really pushing on. And I think the players will be quite emotional as well, and it'll be an emotionally charged affair after the happenings of this week. I want us to see us attack and try and dominate the game. I think a 3-2 is a great shout. I think there'll be goals in it. I think Brighton are a really good team who are playing with high levels of confidence right now. Let's go to some of the predictions of the people watching. If you haven't already, drop your prediction in the chat. We'll get through it. Becky's predicting a 2-1 win Spurs. Adrian's going 2-1 Spurs. Craig's saying a 1-1. Gov's always confident. Channel member 3-1 win. Kerry also channel membership. Grab wheels now. 3-1 win. They'll be playing for Ventrone, so we'll have extra oomph. Cameron thinks it'll be a Desmond. James, 6-1 Spurs, mark my words. We will screenshot that and we will come back to it on Monday, James. Don't you worry. Let's have a look. What else we've got there? Coming in thick and fast. 2-1 Brighton from Milton. He's on the HG train. Brendan saying a Desmond. Daniel Harrison, 3-1 Spurs. The Mod Drummer, 3-0 Spurs. We see you. Lindy, mother is going for 5-1 to Spurs. Crikey. King Hoddle wants to say nursing. Stuart Such 4-1 to Brighton. Have a word with yourself, man.
A Conte team will never concede 4 goals. The chances of that is ridiculous.
He would literally chuck defenders on for forwards before that happens, You
mean like you did at Arsenal, you think?
Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah,
I'll throw the Craig twins on, whatever it takes. Oh, I broke a glass. Sorry.
I wonder what had happened.
Whoops.
I hope
Sorry.
there was no garnish in that glass.
I think I pulled my own earphone out and I broke a glass, so apologies. Well, good water glass that's now broken.
Well,
there you go. Apologies for the loudness.
There you go.
Shut me up a bit longer.
Sam saying 3-1 Spurs. Could I just say, HG?
Just one last thing about Brighton. Like Brighton's 3-4-2-1 is very similar to Chelsea's 3-4-2-1, and they always give us issues. So if you've got Gross and Trossard and who they had, McAllister and Caicedo, like if they work as a square, then they will outnumber our 2 if we do go 3-4-3, right? And they'll be able to move the ball forward. If Spurs play with a higher line like we did at Frankfurt, that may not matter so much. We'll be able to kind of they can have the ball, but in their own half, that's fine, and then we'll push high and hopefully get it from the defenders moving forward. So, like, a lot of it might do with Spurs and how we set ourselves up. But I just, Brighton aren't as good as Chelsea, and Chelsea were really up for that game earlier in the season. But I just think when I see that kind of formation where you've got 3 centre backs, which we struggle against, and we've got basically 2 sets of 2 central midfielders that we struggle against, it makes me nervous. And the fact that Brighton have been playing well and getting results all season, it feels like a very, very even match, despite the fact that we were unbeaten until the last league game. It's who is which team is in a false position? Is it us or is it them, or are we both just pretty good? And if we're pretty good, then it's going to be a tough game, right? I mean, was it 3rd against 5th? That is a big game in any league. So it's I'm excited. It's tomorrow evening.
And you know what the stronger force is now as well.
The strong, Conte or Spursy? No, Conte is the stronger force. I just want him to show it again, please.
I mean, we know going to tomorrow's game, we're gonna have 40% possession, mid 40% possession at best, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we know what it's going to be. We're not going to win that midfield battle. It's going to be what we do when we have those opportunities to counter, isn't it?
Well, look at this. Some breaking news from Brendan. Brendan, come and join the stream. Tell us more about our plans. What, is it Frankfurt at home?
Yeah, it must be.
So, does that... And you're not coming,
are you going now? Is that the deal, Caller? Like, you want to be there with Caller?
No, I'm not. I don't want to be Brendan, no. I mean, Brendan's great, but I'm my own man. I'll go into the Sporting game. I don't think I can get down to the Frankfurt game, sadly. Which is probably good because I think those Frankfurt fans would give me a headache if I'm being really honest.
They are. They're quite
a noisy bunch, aren't they?
Jack, did you manage to clean your glass?
I did manage to do it. Yeah, I think it was what much needed. You could say some people wanted it to happen. You could say in the chat. So good way to quiet me.
Surely not. There's the league table. Just to be clear. I mean,
they're 4th. They're not even 5th. They're 4th. Wow. Okay.
With a game less. 17 points. Obviously, we could go level with City if they lose, which is probably pretty unlikely. But 20 points would be a very good return from 9 games, right? 20 points would be a great return from 9 games. So I do think that we're getting ourselves a little bit downbeat just because we lost to a very decent Arsenal team, sorry to say. And I know we've debated that already, but I do think the Spurs fans just need to have a word with themselves on Twitter.
I kind of said this today, Caller, to be fair, where I know we're a bit frustrated with football. I totally recognize that. And I think we'll hear those points because I think they're totally valid with sometimes the bit of the football we've seen. But I said this just today, as much as we look up the table at Man City and Arsenal, is there maybe also a reason to look down the table and see the teams that are below us? You look at the likes of Chelsea that are struggling to keep up with the pace. You look at the likes of Liverpool that, I think at this stage it'll be impressive if they somehow find a way to keep top 4 sort of form. You have to maybe take into account that teams haven't been able to keep up the pace with Man City and Arsenal this season, and we maybe are the only team that at least showing some sort of semblance of being able to do that. And I think there is some solace in that. I understand that Arsenal and Man City, I'll be honest, 2 of the teams I probably despise more than any in the Premier League, being above us is not nice to see. But sometimes you have to look down the table as much as you need to look up the table, especially when you're in 3rd.
There's opportunities this year, isn't there, Jack? There's definitely opportunities in this Premier League to do something special and to, with Chelsea being the way they are, Man United being the way they are, Liverpool being the way they are, they're not at the races at this point. So I think that's part of the frustration as well, isn't it? When we drop points or we don't dominate these games, because we do see it. I certainly feel there's an opportunity this season.
Sure.
I should have brought this slide up before you made your predictions, really. You can see Brighton's form and who they've beaten. Man United in there, West Ham in there, draw at Liverpool. Hammered Leicester, very similar to us, and a couple of a respectable result at Leeds. Yeah, like you say, Fulham did get the better of them. So
I mean, we're their toughest game of the season. I mean, like the Man United first game was probably a good time to play them, but they haven't played anyone above us, so it's going to be it's a big game for them too. But yeah, I don't know. It really will be. It's probably going to be one. Is that Davo?
yeah, you like this. He looks impassioned there as well, doesn't he? Or in pain? I'm not sure which.
Our own host Kamara. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave enjoyed his visit to the Levy Dome enormously whilst he was over in the country. Is he on a plane? He's on a plane right now, or I think pretty much on his way back to Oz. But there he is in his cheese room merch. If you want some of that, join our Patreon. I should say at this point, it's fantastic. Exclusive content, prizes and discounts, chat group. Cheese room merch, our own fantasy football. It's £3 a month. I mean, it is literally half the price of a pint at the Levy Dome. And the merch after 6 months, some of which is modelled here. You know, you get your mug, you get your pin badge, and your look at that.
That should be like a mug or something. That pain-stricken face there.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the weekend's football. What do we think then? We've been doing a predict the score thing on a Friday. So let's go down these results. HG, I'll let you have the first say. Run us through in the best Davo style you can muster.
All right. Well, I'll go from top to bottom, left to right. So
I just have to say, by the way, the garnish is adding so much to this drink. It's untrue. I recommend it. Get out there and buy your rose heads right now.
All right. So those games on the left, Leicester will win, and the other four. Okay, no, Newcastle Brentford will be a draw, but the other three will be home wins because I said Brighton would win, so I've got to stick with that. On the other side, Palace Leeds will be boring, probably 1-1. West Ham, Fulham. I think West Ham.
Wait, why will that be boring? I feel like maybe would that be a bit exciting?
Well, Crystal Palace managed to concede late goals, but the Leeds Villa game is probably the worst game this season, right? So I don't know, but
I feel like that's more Villa than Leeds because I think Leeds have been kind of fun to watch this season, and in fact. My fellow Yank, Jesse Marsh, criticized Steven Gerrard for making the game a bit dull. In fact, I think he wanted it to be a bit more spicy. So I think Crystal Palace and Patrick Vieira might offer that to him.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. West Ham, Fulham. West Ham will probably get over the line in that one. Arsenal, Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool will win 5-0. Everton, United. United will do enough, I think, to win that one. And Forest, Villa. Oh man, if Forest win that, Gerrard's really in trouble. So that's what I want to see. I'll go for a Forest win in that game.
100 people watching, only 50 likes. That's terrible, isn't it, Jack?
It's a shame, and in fact, I sometimes find myself doing the same thing on the Irish Hotspur caller. Sometimes you refresh the stream, see what it's at, and sometimes you can be a bit appalled. But they'll do well. They'll do well by you. They'll get the likes up.
Come on, get those likes up. Hit that like button, Jack. Give us your predictions.
Leicester, I agree. Bournemouth, but they're actually, I don't know. Is there something to be said with Bournemouth actually playing quite well right now? And perhaps even, I'll go against it. Bournemouth win this one. And maybe this is the one that sacks Brendan Rodgers.
Lots of talk they can't sack Brendan Rodgers.
Can't afford it.
The financial cost.
It just seems like who's doing it? Who's trying to get sacked harder? Is it Brendan Rodgers trying to get sacked harder? Is it the players trying to sack him harder? It's hard to know. So I'm going to actually go Bournemouth win just because Bournemouth are actually in a bit of form right now. And if I'm not mistaken, their manager was even in contention for manager of the month. Wasn't it something like that as well? Yeah. So there you go. Chelsea, I believe, win against Wolves. Man City, I think it's why even talk about it. Newcastle, I was a bit worried for a second there, but I feel like maybe after that convincing win, they are still behind. Eddie Howe, Spurs 3-2. Like I said, I actually think this could be. I don't know. I just feel like Leeds play a very exciting brand of football, but they're very capable of getting exposed at the back. I don't rate Jesse Marsh defensively still. I think he's very great going forward at putting attacking patterns. But I mean, this could be also a basketball game. This could end up being a 3-2, or I think a 2-2 or a Desmond or something crazy. So I'll go for a Desmond there. Actually, a draw. West Ham lose. I'll go for Fulham just because I love Mitrovic, one of my favorite players back in the Premier League, the greatest donkey of all time. And then Liverpool, Liverpool, I just have to expect. I'll say Liverpool draw with the scum. Man United beat Everton. Actually, no. Everton also another draw. Everton draw Man United. And then Forest draw Villa. I'll also say lots of draws. I've gone for lots of draws. I would say Forest and Villa. That must be the worst game on paper. In fact, there might be a reason I don't see a TV channel underneath it for good reason, just because that does not look enticing at all.
Definitely.
Why is it on the Monday night if it's not on TV?
It's a good question. Don't know.
Should be hidden. That game should be hidden.
Maybe we've just cut off the bottom of the graphic, but I don't think so. That wouldn't be like John.
Is it not Amazon? Is it not on Amazon or something like that?
I think we're too early for Amazon. I think Amazon is November, but
Not until they sponsor the stadium.
the first, the last round of games I thought was Amazon, but I might be wrong. I may well be wrong. Craig, you've had all that time. You've been sat there listening to these two wise sages. Of football. Give us
here we go. These are the right ones, by the way. This is going to happen. Mark my words. Bournemouth will win. Brendan will go. Chelsea will win. Man City will win. Newcastle will win. Tottenham Brighton draw, as I said. Crystal Palace Leeds score draw. West Ham Fulham. West Ham will win. Liverpool will win 5-0. Man United will beat Everton, and Forest will beat Villa, and Jared will go.
There are so many weird things. I'm just looking at the whole TV desire with what they've done here. Like the BT game is now Sunday night at 7. What? And then the Crystal Palace Leeds
Man United
game
have to be on TV. That's the thing.
I mean, yes, but I realise that Man United have to play Thursday, and that sucks for BT because all the big teams, are playing like midweek now. So United and Arsenal and West Ham, but other teams play Thursdays. But I just think that Crystal Palace Leeds game. Why is that not the Saturday lunchtime game? Why can't? What am I going to do tomorrow lunchtime if there's no Premier League to watch? I think that's what's annoying me more than anything.
I just feel like if Man United were playing Colchester, it would still be on TV ahead of any of these games. That's
100%. Now Man United are showing a little bit of revival, although they got demolished against City. It's like a collective masturbation fest over them, on Sky Sports 24/7. But talking of masturbation fests, there we go. I can see a similarity, actually.
No, it's the frizzy hair as well, kind of frizzy.
Brendan, I reckon you could shape your beard a little bit sharper there. See what you can do.
Hang on. Where'd you get that picture?
Well, John just sent me a text message saying, "I've uploaded this. What do you think?"
Wow, I don't look like that in that much, do I?
No, it's the beard. It's just the beard. I'm sure the other half of the face would be someone else, but it's a good thing, Brendan. Anytime we see a beard like that, we think of you. That's got to be a good thing.
100%.
I have an embarrassing beard. Sandro's got a proper big beard. I've got proper beard envy next to him. I'm glad I'm not going to the Brighton game.
You're a bit patchy, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, and that's fine. I accept it. I'm comfortable with my patchy beard.
Apache, did you say?
Deserbia's as well.
Patchy. Thanks for joining. You can give us your predictions as well, Brent.
Okay.
What's in the Davo there?
Beautiful. He looks very sexy. It suits him, the mic, everything. I love it.
He loves it. He loves it. By the way, I got to say, 60 seconds on
the over-under on that.
I have a reputation to keep up, Okay, so Bournemouth will do Leicester. Chelsea will prediction. I'm doing score predictions. Okay, so 2-1 Bournemouth, 3-1 Bournemouth. Do I have to? You guys done it all.
Well, I'm only winding you up.
All right. Well, yeah, you guys done a really good job. So yeah, I reckon 2-2 draw Spurs Brighton.
Okay. What about the rest of them though? Chelsea Wolves.
Wolves. Yeah, Chelsea should do that. Aubameyang scoring, which is weird. 3-1, I reckon.
Okay. City Southampton.
I might triple cap Haaland. Like, the thing is, every week you can triple cap Haaland, he'll still score a hat trick. So I might just do it this time. 4-0.
Yeah, Newcastle Brentford.
Well, that's a toughie. I reckon maybe a draw. No, actually, Newcastle doing well. 2-1 Newcastle.
Okay. We know your Brighton Tottenham score. Palace Leeds.
I reckon Leeds will do it, and Jesse Marsh will do the old running with his jeans, with his celebration, his tight jeans.
West Ham United and Fulham.
I reckon that'll be a draw as well. I reckon 2-2. Is Mitrovic still injured?
I think so. Sure. I think he might be, yeah.
All right. So if he is, then 2-1 West Ham.
Goons and the Scouse.
Just loads of red cards and injuries, please. I don't care what the score is.
On both sides, yeah?
Yeah, on both sides, yeah. Broken legs everywhere. 3-1 Liverpool.
Okay. Everton United.
Everton are doing all right. They've got the best defence in the league, which is ridiculous.
Bizarre. Well, and the best of it is it's built by a lone player from Wolves who are terrible at the moment.
Is Cody only on loan?
He's on loan, yeah. Crazy.
I thought he was
He'll get recalled. He'll 100% get recalled.
Wow.
He fell out with the manager whose name escapes me. What
Bruno Lage.
Lager.
Oh, Bruno.
He must have been really fed up with Lager shouting. Sorry.
Bruno.
Everton United.
I went for a draw.
I'll go draw as well, I think. Yeah, 1-1.
Okay, and the sexy tie of the week: Forest versus Villa.
Where's Villa? Cooper got that new deal. You guys have already mentioned that, I'm sure. So I reckon Forest.
We haven't mentioned it.
No? Okay, cool. Yeah, he was apparently on the chopping block, and they went all in, got him a new deal. So fair play to Forest for that. I reckon there'll be a bit of a buzz about them because of that, and I think that Forest should do them 2-0.
Are we to score?
Yes. Arise, Serge Aurier.
Okay. Very quickly, then, I'm going to go through. Bournemouth are going to do Leicester. End of Rodgers. Thank you very much. Chelsea are easily they'll slaughter Wolves, unfortunately. City, it's just a question of how many against Southampton. Newcastle will beat Brentford. Brighton Hove versus us. I've already said I've said a 3-2. I feel a Desmond or a 3-2. I'm going to go 3-2. Palace and Leeds. Home win 2-1. That always works in the dream team. In the fantasy, in Seb's Prediction League, which, by the way, is another benefit of being a Patreon. You can join Seb's Prediction League. And there's plenty of time to catch up. Spam and Fulham. I hate to say it. Spam are going to win that. Goons and Liverpool, and I hate to say this too, Goons are going to win. And I hope you're right, Brendan. Lots of sendings offs and injuries left, right, and centre. Everton and Man United. I think Man United are going to do them. Forest Villa, and I'll go with that. Forest are going to do Villa. Although Villa haven't been as bad this season as I thought. Everton and Villa, I thought were going to do terrible this season. I've got to be honest.
That's a good prediction, though. I mean, not a lot of people saw that coming, especially in the case of Villa. Some people saw the investment, everything. So
yeah, absolutely. We haven't talked about this person yet, but apparently, well, the interest around this is apparently there's a release. I mean, Carlo Ancelotti wouldn't discuss Haaland, which means almost certainly there is a release clause, doesn't there, Brendan?
I don't know. Do City need to put release clauses in there? It
wouldn't be City putting it in, would that?
It would be Haaland's representatives. No, I think he's there. He's going to do at least. I mean, he's so young still. He'll do at least 4 years at City. So to question Ancelotti now, there's no way Ancelotti's going to be there if and when Haaland does go to Real Madrid. He's a robot. He's superhuman. There's no other words for it. Every week you can triple cap him, and he'll probably get a hat trick. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know if would there be release. What's the rumored release then? What, 250, 500 million?
No, it's just that if Real Madrid come in for him, they have to accept the I mean, there must be a financial commitment on it, but the release clause is around Real Madrid. That was the rumor.
I mean, the thing is that there were rumors in the summer that Haaland only wanted Real Madrid, but Real Madrid put all their eggs in the Mbappe basket, and then Mbappe said, "Oh, actually, I want to stay at PSG." So the Real Madrid came out empty-handed. But if Haaland still wants Real Madrid, which I do think he does, it's how many years does he want to spend at City?
Money.
How many years does he want to spend at City before he makes that move? And I think he will make that move. So it's, how long does Benzema have?
He'll have ticked his boxes, won't he? Played for my dad's team and been, set the Premier League on fire. Played for Real Madrid,
win everything, and then join his boyhood club Leeds at like 25. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be at City more than 2 seasons, personally.
Here's a question for this panel. Is Haaland better than Kane? And if Kane had gone to City, would he be scoring the same goals, the amount of goals that Haaland's scoring in that team?
I have to say, and I've said this a lot, you've got to think that Harry Kane is sat there thinking, it could have been me. Because the service that he's going to get, I mean, the balls that De Bruyne is putting through to him are just unreal. When you've got that kind of level of service, Jack, I'll come to you on it. It's unstoppable, isn't it? So to Craig's point, Kane or Haaland? Put your Spurs bias to one. Put it in a box, wrap it up, chuck it in with the broken glass in the bin for 1 second.
Just to give kind of Kane a bit of credit here, can you almost flip the question where you say, who does better in a Man City team? But then what if you went back to Dortmund? Who does better in a Dortmund team? I would maybe make the case that Harry Kane would make more of an impact in a Borussia Dortmund team than maybe even Erling Haaland ever did. And Erling Haaland, believe me, was absolutely exceptional for Borussia Dortmund. But there is something to be said with how Kane fills the creativity department. He fills the he fills the scoring department, as we know as well, where Haaland is sort of a player who does rely on service, and he does rely on good service. And I think he is an absolute freak of nature compared to Harry Kane, who's more of a technical, gifted player in kind of a freak of nature sense. But Erling Haaland is just a freak of nature in every way. But I don't know, maybe sometimes a team like Borussia Dortmund could have done better had they maybe had someone who could have dropped deep and been able to link up play and maybe find the likes of a Marco Reus or a Sancho or something. So I know this sounds crazy, but what if you flipped it to a worse team like a Borussia Dortmund? Maybe Kane does look better when you have maybe worse players around these 2 exceptional strikers, perhaps the 2 best strikers in the world. When you have worse players around them, who would you rather have? I think I would rather have Kane if I had worse players around Kane. If I had better players around either of them, maybe I'd go to Haaland, but that's only if I have blank check players like Man City have around him.
Can I just say, Jack, I love the fact that when you needed to find a team that were not as good as Man City, you went for Dortmund and not for Spurs. I'm really, really happy that
I had
you
to
didn't
use
say,
a different team.
Let's put Haaland in Spurs' team, and does he score as many goals? No, is the answer, quite simply.
Yeah, maybe simpler there. Maybe simpler.
But Haaland's a machine. I think Kane is the better footballer, but he wouldn't have scored the goals that Haaland scored. Haaland's got 14 in the league, and in 8 games. That's just mental. So Haaland is a goal scorer, maybe the best number 9 when it comes to scoring goals I'll ever see, because he's just been insane at doing it. But yeah, I think when it comes to who's the better all-round footballer, then it's Kane, and it's not even close. It's just what do you need from your number 9? Right now at City, he's there to do the tap-ins that Sterling used to score. And although the tap-ins are a bit more spectacular, but it is that kind of idea. He's on the end of things rather than part of it.
Right.
Yeah. On Kane as well, there's no way that Haaland has the range of passing that Kane has. Haaland just looks like a unit, like Casey says, to get on the end of things. Kane's overall play does surpass Haaland, but at the same time, you're like, well, Haaland's younger, so it depends how the question's posed. It's like, which would you prefer in your team now? Haaland's a very tempting proposition. He's in my fantasy league. I had to drop Kane for Haaland to get him in there. So it's, but yeah, those Kanes, the sort of the spinning round and the pinging the balls over to Sonny. I don't think Haaland could do that.
He's a Bond villain, isn't he? He's got very long legs that seem to reach literally everything.
It's like picking between Terminator and human. Basically, it's like, would you rather have a human or the Terminator? It feels like Haaland obviously being a Terminator.
I like this comparison. He's Ivan Drago. He absolutely is, isn't he? I must break you. If he dies, he dies. All of that, Rocky stuff.
So are we now imagining Kane running up the steps in Philadelphia?
I've done that. I ran up the steps at Philadelphia, got to the top, did the old Adrian, ran all the way back down. Yeah, got to the missus who was filming the whole thing, and she was like, "I forgot to press record." So I had to do it all over again.
Oh, so you did it again. You didn't see it as a sign that perhaps you didn't want to film this for your own good.
I think it was a sign that, that life insurance we were talking about before the show.
She's just trying to...
You may have wanted £1 million.
Are the steps cooler as hard to get up as Rocky makes it look?
No,
or is it?
This, mate.
Right, I thought so. I mean, a man like you would obviously...
A man of my physique could run up there easily, which basically means anyone can.
I think Kane would do a slow jog like Rocky could. I mean, he definitely could. He could do it similarly, a slow jog up the stairs. I could see.
Haaland would just do it in one small leap.
He jump over the stairs. He jump.
This is how we're going to rank strikers from now on. How many steps would they need to get up the Rocky steps?
How dissimilar to Rocky would they look running up the stairs?
Yeah, Gov says Kane can jog up the steps, but he feels the need to go from side to side, given how wide those steps are. Would take an hour. What else have we got? Oh, yeah, this is good. So look at this. Levy's loving life. Any opportunity to make a few quid. Put this in especially for Davo because he's at 30,000 feet right now. In-flight entertainment.
Do they just have like screens of like 90s Tottenham playing as you go along?
Oh God!
Well,
Christian Gross
jumping out at you.
Here's a funny thing. This is
with his underground ticket.
It made me think. What's the scariest thing you've seen at Spurs? As a quiz show question, or associated with Spurs. So, who would love to go first?
Left-sided centre back Sanchez wouldn't be a bad.
Oh, come on!
Right.
You could do better than that.
That was cheap.
Put you on the spot, but
I'm better than that.
Ramon Vega, there's one straight away.
Oh, I had a soft spot for Ramon Vega.
So did I. I had him on my shirt. I like Vega.
Do you know what? I always remember, and obviously this is so untrue. It's unbelievable. But I always used to think he scores from every single set piece. He put out a corner, he scores. He gets to the end of the headers, and I don't know where I've got that in my mind, but I always remember thinking that when he played for us.
I think he only scored about 3 career goals for Spurs.
I know, exactly. I mean, it's just rubbish.
Defending corners or attacking?
No, attacking. I always thought he was good at attacking corners, and I don't know where I got it from. It's just a strange thing.
Put your scariest Spurs memory in the chat. We've got some coming through. Ndebele back in central midfield. Yeah. There's one. The Hugo lowlights reel. Brendan, you'd have a short of a word or two. Scariest thing at Spurs that you've seen?
I was trying to think. When Danny Rose dyed his hair red, that wasn't good. Like that. I don't know. Well, I did the pod again, name dropping with Max Rushton, and
he's literally made like if I added up all the time you've totally spoke on this show, it would probably equate to about 3 minutes, and you've got Sandro in there about 4 times and Max Rushton.
But Max Rushton, he works with Mark Bosnich, and they're in Australia for Stan Sports, I think it's called. And when I was a kid, I was like 13 or 14. I used to sit right at the front, and we were doing the Klinsmann song, and as it basically, Mark Bosnich did a Basil Fawlty and gave a Nazi salute to the Spurs faithful. And I was like, oh, what's he doing? And then everyone was a bit angry with that. So that was quite a scary moment. Was being very close to Mark Bosnich when he decided to stupidly do a Basil Fawlty, and hearing quite a lot of angry Spurs fans react to that was a moment for a 14-year-old me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure you could top that, but there's some good ones in here. Gary Mabbutt's knee, which is the name of the City fanzine. His own goal. Giovanni Dos Santos. Do you remember him, HG?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do. But I mean, Daniel Harrison put that one up, but the next one he put up is what I was thinking.
Oh,
that was ugly in every single way you could define that. Running down the wing, his face. Sorry, Jagorj, but yeah, Rashak was scary.
What about this one? Harry Kane in goal, Craig. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. He saved a free kick, didn't he? If I remember, didn't he?
It went in. I think it went in.
Did it?
Yeah, it went through him. It was like Taibbi at his finest.
He scored actually before that, didn't he? Wasn't it before?
Probably.
Did he score a hat-trick before that, before going in goal? I think for me, this every single appearance that Postiga made up front, that was frightening.
We paid
every single one of them. And Redbroth while we're there. Yeah, good point.
Could you do like a sort of a, what is that sort of thing where it's like it just continuous sort of like torture where you watch Harry Kane continue to take free kicks only for them to hit the wall repeatedly? Where you
just being waterboarded watching Harry Kane on free.
Yeah, it would be like that sort of that'd be not a bad scary sort of thing. Nuno being manager, I agree. King Hoddle, not a bad one.
Yeah, not bad, and not bad at all. I mean, there you go. John's come up with this one. Stuart Nethercott and Kevin Scott at centre back.
Yeah,
I do think there's validity in having a show where we just talk about 90s Tottenham, just to put into context what, for those fans that don't remember the 90s, or they just see the Pochettino area in the recent times as being Tottenham, just to remind them of what it used to be like.
I mean, this is like if you're 30 years old, right? The first Spurs team, like okay, right. So if you're 30 years old, the first Spurs team you really remember is like when Yol took over, which is just mental.
It's mental,
because that's been we've had 17 years of pretty good seasons at Spurs, whereas before that it was probably 17 years when we were woeful. So it's just incredible to think that there are people who are having kids and living their lives and they've only really known a top half Spurs. It's kind of weird.
My first ever game at Spurs, the centre midfield pairing was Jason Dazelle and David Howells, and we won. We won that game. So yeah, that's
workmanlike performance.
Yeah, Rule Fox and Andy Sinton running the wings. Solskjaer at the back. Mabbott was pre his Mabbott's. Was it a leg?
Your first game. That makes me feel older than you, but I'm not older than you.
You are older than me. You're 6 months older.
Marginally.
But yeah, that my first game was February 1996, 1995, 96, yeah. And it was the Jerry Francis year. Jerry Francis's fucking mullet. That's pretty scary.
Mullet, yeah.
Oh, loved it.
And his mullet. I mean, there's so many. Radio Gomez in goal. Gomez is Sancho's friend, though, right?
He is, yeah. He's back in Brazil. We're going to get him on the pod soon. Aurelio Gomez. He's back in Brazil. He lives in Belo Horizonte, and Cruzeiro, which is one of the main teams there, was promoted recently. So he was posting about that. But Gomez is cool, man. And Gomez is the connection between Sandro and Richarlison as well.
He's the octopus, if I remember rightly.
Cool.
It's to save everything. Hoddle leaving to join Wenger at Monaco. Christian Gross on the bus. Want to meet Stefan Freund in a dark Holy crap, Jason Dazelle. Can you get him? I'd be more impressed if you could get Jason Dazelle on your pod.
I know. Which Asda is he working at now? Sorry.
There you go. Bobby Mims in goal.
Yeah, those were not good days. That is true.
And this is the
Dark,
thing, right?
dark
So when
days.
you read on Twitter, Craig, Conte should be sacked.
So, I mean, I was going up to.
Bobby
When
Mims.
I remember going up to the Middlesbrough game last season. In the car on the way up, and it was an ouch. And I remember lift sharing on the way back, obviously in a foul mood. And there was said about, they don't remember. They're with you where you said HG, their earliest memories, Joel. And I was sort of talking to him about these experiences that we had in the 90s of Tottenham and how bad it was. And actually anything we experience now is nothing compared to what we had back then. And it just frustrates me because I think, and it's also part of the criticism we see put towards, I'm not going to get into the ENIC debate, but how far we've progressed as a club now to where we were. And I think people, of the 30s age bracket forget that, what shambles of a club we were when we had Sugar as our chairman, and for all their rights and wrongs of ENIC, and I'm not saying I'm for or against, but we are a different animal of a club now to what we ever were. And I don't think any of us who can remember those times and going to games in the 90s would ever or thought we would be where we are now, would we? Honestly, at that point.
No.
It was still enjoyable. I still loved it.
Oh, I loved every game.
It's football, Brent. I love football at any level.
Yeah.
Live football can't be beaten as far as I'm concerned. For entertainment, go with my dad to Telford United in the rain. And losing 3-0. I still loved it.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah, absolutely not. You got nothing to be jealous of.
No, I don't know. I'd live for it. I'd live for that, to have that opportunity. At least I don't get to have that opportunity, caller. So I'm jealous.
But live football is what connects us, is what bonds us, and it just honestly, I just think that people have lost all perspective and all this shit about we're this massive club who should be demanding this, and this. I mean, I remember when top four was a pipe dream. I never thought in my life I would see Spurs in Europe. And don't get me wrong, I want us to win the league as much as the next person, but you got to have a slight reality check sometimes when you see how far we've come. I think that's pretty much all we've got time for tonight. We've been going for an hour and 37 minutes. So thank you so much for tuning in. Do smash that like button. Do hit the subscribe. We're going to be back on Monday. Brighton are going to get battered. And it's going to be glorious. I hope you enjoy the game wherever you're watching from. HG, thanks for joining.
No problem. Enjoyed it as always. Brendan
McGurty, thanks for dropping in. It's always a nice thing to see you in your back garden, probably half cup.
you always enjoy my back garden, don't you, caller? Yeah, it's been good fun, lads. Good to join you guys, and yeah, fingers crossed we get a result. Up the Spurs.
Jack, as ever, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining. I hope your glass is all right. And you've not
I broke a glass for good luck. I broke a glass for good luck for tomorrow, or for bad luck. You never know how you interpret those. But yeah, appreciate you having me on as always. And I would say, I hope for that basketball game 3-2 win. Hopefully, it's not anything different. At least a win.
Good stuff. And Craig, your call up to the first team. How was your debut?
Well, I think I don't want to blow me on trumpet, but I'll give myself a good Sandro level performance there.
I gave myself an Emerson 7 out of 10, so I think that's not bad.
Very steady. We should ask this man really. Which one? I'm seeing double. Until next time, Brendan, don't look so disgusted. It's all right. Honestly, it's okay. It's a joke.
I did not give permission for that photo to be used.
We've got worse. Until next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.